This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Dahlak Brathwaite from L.A., who is in for some performances and clinics. Dahlak, first off, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And you're being brought in by Legion Arts, and Mel Andringa, who's the artistic director of Legion Arts, is with us too.
Great.
And again, thank you for bringing Dahlak to us.
Okay.
So, Dahlak, on your bio, you referred to as a multifaceted hip hop artist,
right?
Maximizing your abilities as musician, actor, poet, and educator.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot, right?
So that's a bunch.
It's actually really true, but I know how it sounds on paper.
It's like I always say, specialization is for insects.
Yeah. I'm gonna use that one.
Okay. Well, we have to credit Robert Heinlein, the sci-fi author, for it.
Cool.
But feel free.
Nice.
So before we kind of dive into all the different facets of what you do, tell me a little bit about how you got into this. You know, what was as you were growing up? What was what was your interest that led you down this path?
Well, I could start. Usually, I start 11, 12 years old when I started writing rap lyrics. But truly, I think about it, and it even started before that. My dad used to encourage us to write fiction stories on the typewriter. I'm dating myself now.
Oh, you are not old enough to have ever even seen a typewriter. I don't believe that for a minute.
I came in on the end, and we had a typewriter. I used to write little fiction stories when I was 5 or 6, and I fell out of that, but hip hop really grabbed my attention. The words, the lyricism of hip hop really grabbed my attention when I was 11, 12 years old, and my brother was introducing me to it, so it was kind of cool to me. So I wanted to take authority over it. I wanted to own it, and that's when I started writing my own lyrics. About 4 years into that, I began to take theater classes at my high school. I took theater all throughout high school, and so I had these two strengths of writing raps and performing raps, but then also performing lines and dialogue and monologues. And eventually, those two art forms intersected when I got introduced to spoken word poetry around 17, 18 years old. This is when Def Poetry Jam on HBO first premiered, and it was starting to become popular in my neighborhood as well. There were open mics starting to start up all around, and I gravitated towards it. I saw the poets perform on the open mics, and it just seemed like something I could do. And when I really started to embrace spoken word poetry, I just really took my theater skills, took my rap skills, and really made my own style of spoken word. And I just continue to operate along that spectrum. Sometimes I'm just doing a character monologue. Like in my play, I have 4 characters, and it's just a regular monologue. But then sometimes I want to express myself in song or in rap lyrics, or sometimes the medium of spoken word poetry fits best for the point I'm trying to make. So I get to dabble in all these little art forms, which all really revolve around the performed word, the spoken word. But I think hip-hop, music, poetry, acting, I think they all highlight certain things that the other one can't. So,
Now, you're doing a residency here over the next week or so in Iowa, and doing several activities in Cedar Rapids, which we'll talk about in a minute. But let's jump ahead to the show that you're going to be doing the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the weekend of the 10th.
Yeah.
Right? Am I getting that right, Mel?
That's correct.
Okay. At CSPS. Now, this is just you and Dion, right? Your DJ?
DJ Dion Decibels, yeah.
And you mentioned that you have multiple characters.
Yeah.
So just give me the elevator speech of what the show's about.
Okay. Addiction, religion, and the law intersect in a government-funded drug rehabilitation program.
Okay.
I got it down. Been pitching it for a little while.
Master of the high concept.
Exactly. Yeah.
So where did this come from?
Well, it's a semi-autobiographical story documenting my process through the criminal justice system after an offense for 4 stems of mushrooms. And at the time, it was a felony in California, and I had to go through this program. After I, vindicated myself to a certain degree, I wanted to own this experience. I wanted to adapt this experience. So even though the play, the characters that you meet in the play are not real characters that I met or some things I took creative license with, it's really just my opportunity to explore what I've been through, to really talk about subjects I'm really interested in: addiction, religion, the law, how these things intersect. And through my experience, it was almost a revelation to me how much all these things had in common. And I started to create a through line for all of it. And just writing it, I could say, helped me, one, remove some of the shame I felt. And so it really freed me up into telling this story. And I think it's an important story, especially for the time right now when we're talking about drug reform, drug law reform, and mass incarceration, and Black Lives Matter.
It must be incredibly eerie for you to have written this, and then to see so much of what I'm sure you talk about in the show, as a young black male, being played out in the headlines. It's just got to be surreal.
It's I wouldn't say it's surreal. I feel like it's more I feel like I really caught a wave in a certain way. It makes me feel like I'm really part of this generation. It makes me feel like I am speaking a story that is the zeitgeist. I kind of stumbled into the spirit of the time, but not just as an artist looking in, but really as a person of this generation experiencing this. And because I didn't hold back this opportunity to share this story and this opportunity to explore the themes in this story, I was able to, I think, catch a wave of national exposure and national conversation that I'm glad to have caught. I'm glad to be a part of. I'm glad that I have the ability to speak this story at this particular time.
Talking with Dahlak about his upcoming residency and shows, which are next week in the Cedar Rapids area and CSPS. Mel, you're the custodian of Dahlak's Schedule, so he's going to be doing some school stuff and a couple of evening activities that will then be leading into his show, right? So you want to run down the list quick.
Oh, that's right. He's working with the area substance abuse program. He's working at Washington High School with a group of spoken word poets at the Hook, which is a new spoken word group that's based at CSPS, also with Four Oaks and the workshops at the schools, and then something called Pen and Drink for writers
which is Aqua NG's new project.
Yeah, at Lionbridge. That's next Wednesday the 9th. And then also, he's just basically meeting with various artists, the artists of Voice Box, which is another spoken word group that's having a performance on Saturday at CSPS.
So when you're working with, obviously when you're with the adult workshops and kind of the addiction and experience groups, it seems like there's you probably have a pretty clear message there. When you're working with students, what is your, I'm sure that this is part, here's my performance career, but also here are the things that had to happen to me to get there.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Yeah.
Kind of things.
Right.
So how do you, you don't want to lecture the kids about don't do drugs, kids.
Right.
But
I'm not trying to be that guy.
Right. Don't want to be that guy. Not trying to be that guy. But I'm sure that you're trying to not only talk about your career as a performer, but also about your life that led you to this. So tell me about how you kind of dance between those two things.
Well, I come from this circle and this community of spoken word poets from this organization, mainly Youth Speaks, which who also produced this play. I've been working with this organization for 12 years, and we work with youth who are interested in writing. We use hip-hop and spoken word poetry to engage youth and to encourage them to write their own stories. So it's less of me telling, this is my story and this is how I became an artist, and it's more of me creating a space where they feel comfortable telling their story, where they have some tools to tell their story, where they know the process. Like sometimes I will model a certain process that I take, or a certain poem that I perform. I'll give the students an insight of the devices I used to create this story, or the inspiration that could have led me to this story. So I really try to focus it on them, for one, because this organization, this community that I come from, which I also believe in, we really believe in the power of one telling their own story, that one could free themselves and one could liberate and enlighten themselves by beginning to put the pen to the paper and explore, some things that I think get glazed over a lot. And I'm a testament of that.
Well, it sounds like that has exactly been your experience.
Yeah, and even before all of this happened to me, I really believe that writing saved my life in so many ways. I feel like it made me a better student. It made me a better person in the ways that I had to investigate myself and had to be honest with myself in order to be a better artist. So I believe in that method, that if you get interested in an art form, I really believe it could be a key to you finding yourself and finding your best self. And I think that could work for writing, for jazz, music, art, any art form. I think is a vehicle for you to really explore yourself, and through that exploration, you're going to find out that you become be a key to you finding yourself. That's where we're trying to get them.
Dahlak will be in Cedar Rapids for the next week doing several different activities and residencies. Some of them will be this weekend, but it all culminates in your shows next week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yeah.
I would point people to the Thursday one because that will include a talkback with you and Dion, led by Akwi Enji, who is a proponent of spoken word poetry and performance art, and is really doing some fun things. Have you met her yet?
Not yet.
Okay, you're gonna dig it.
Yeah,
she's great.
Great.
And if people want to take a look at all the different things that are going on, Mel, they can go to your website, which is
legionarts.org.
And Dahlak, your website.
This is Dahlak.com, and Dahlak is spelled D as in dog, AHLAK.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Dahlak.
The show is called Spirit Trials. So if you're looking it up on our website,
that's what you're after. Spirit Trials.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff as well. And I probably update that a little bit more than I do my website.
Okay. And he's been Snapchatting this entire interview.
Oh yeah. Snapchat Dahlak.Leon. So yeah.
Thank you both for coming in. Dahlak, great to have you in our community, and I wish you the best of luck in all your activities, and great show.
Thank you for having me.